You see these people online, right? The ones who study for 14 hours, build a business, and train like an athlete, all at the same time. And you have to wonder, is it just some superhuman motivation, or is there a secret science to it? Because let's be real, if raw willpower was all it took, we'd all be geniuses by now.
So, the big question is, can you actually train your brain for that kind of 14-hour focus without completely burning out? Well, the answer might surprise you. And spoiler alert, it has absolutely nothing to do with just grinding harder.
The biggest myth, the one that hustle culture loves to sell us, is that top performance comes from just endless grinding and brute force willpower. But the science, it tells a totally different story. The reality is all about managed energy and, this is key, strategic recovery. It's never been about how long you work, it's always been about how you work.
All right, so let's pull back the curtain on this whole 14-hour myth. We're going to dive into the surprising science of how elite performers really get things done.
Okay, so check this out. A 2019 Stanford study looked at elite violinists, the best of the best. And what they found was wild. They don't just practice endlessly. Nope. They put in about 4 hours of incredibly deep focus practice, and then, get this, they build their entire day around recovery. We're talking naps, nutrition, sleep, the works. Their genius isn't about endurance. It's all in that structure. And that structure is the key to everything. This brings us to a really core principle here. You have to work with your biology, not fight against it. See, your brain already has a natural rhythm. The real secret to sustainable, high-level performance is just learning how to harness it. And this rhythm has a name. It's called the ultradian rhythm. And honestly, understanding this is a total game changer. Here's how it works. Your brain naturally operates in these 90 to 120-minute cycles of super high-frequency activity, but then it's followed by a mandatory rest period. I mean it. It's biologically impossible to just maintain peak focus for hours and hours on end. This is why top performers work in these intense, focused bursts. And that 90-minute mark? That's pretty much the sweet spot for a deep work session before your focus just naturally starts to tank. And here's the part most of us get wrong. The rest is just as important as the work. You need at least 15 minutes for your brain to recharge, to kind of clear out all the mental gunk and get you ready for the next cycle. Skipping that break, it's literally like trying to sprint a marathon. You're just going to crash and burn. Okay, so what's actually going on inside your brain during these cycles? Let's get into the neuroscience a bit and see what's fueling and what's draining your focus. So think of your brain's ability to focus like a high-performance fuel tank. It runs on a few key neurotransmitters. You've got dopamine, which fuels your motivation and sense of reward. Acetylcholine is what helps you sustain that deep attention. And norepinephrine keeps you sharp and alert. Every time you're in that deep work zone, you are actively burning through this precious fuel. And what happens when that fuel tank runs empty? You crash. That's what brain fog is. That sudden, overwhelming urge to just check your phone for no reason, that's your brain screaming that it's out of fuel. But here's the good news, you can replenish it. Smart breaks, quality sleep, and proper nutrition, those are your brain's pit stops. All right, so all of this science leads us to a really crucial mindset shift. We have to stop trying to rely on willpower because it's flaky, right? Instead, we need to start building systems that automatically engineer focus right into our day. The author, Cal Newport, who wrote the book Deep Work, puts it perfectly. He says, clarity beats motivation. And think about that for a second. When you have a crystal clear system for what you're doing and when you're doing it, you don't really need motivation. You just execute the plan. The system itself does all the heavy lifting for you. So what do these systems actually look like in practice? Well, it really boils down to 3 core pillars. First, there's time blocking. That's where you design your day in advance, giving every minute a job. Second, task batching. You group similar tasks together to cut down on that mental whiplash of switching gears. And third, working deeply. And this one's huge. You eliminate all distractions during your focus blocks. No phone, no notifications, nothing. Okay, let's put all these pieces together. We're going to build out a blueprint for what a practical, sustainable 14-hour high-performance day could actually look like. But wait, before we jump into the schedule, we have to talk about the foundation. These are the non-negotiables. They're not optional extras, they're absolutely essential.
Hydration is critical. Did you know that being just 1 or 2% dehydrated can wreck your attention? A quick 20-minute cardio session can literally help you grow new brain cells. And sleep? Well, sleep is the ultimate performance-enhancing tool for resetting your entire system.
So here's what it looks like when it all comes together. Notice, this is not one long, miserable slog. It's a series of focused sprints with planned recovery built right in. You can see the rhythm of the day, right? You hit a deep work block early, from 7 to 8:30, to take advantage of that high morning dopamine. Then boom, a break right after to refuel. Then another deep block, followed by a much longer recovery period with lunch and even a nap. The whole day is like a wave. It's this beautiful dance between intense effort and deliberate rest. Now, a really crucial reality check here. Please do not try to copy this exact schedule tomorrow. This isn't a starting point. Think of this as the capacity ceiling, the absolute maximum your brain can reach, but only with training. You have to build up to this one focused sprint at a time. Because trying to jump straight to this level without training, that's a one-way ticket to burnout. And this really brings us to maybe the most important lesson of all. Working harder does not mean working better. There is a very real point of diminishing returns. In fact, that same Stanford research we mentioned earlier found there's a literal productivity cliff at about 55 hours a week. Just look at this. At 40 hours, you're in a great spot, super productive. But once you cross that 55-hour tipping point, your output just nosedives. You end up working more to achieve less, and the quality of your work tanks. That right there is the burnout trap in action. So let's completely reframe the goal here. The point isn't to log 14 hours just so you can say you did, to become some kind of work martyr. No way. The real goal is to achieve mastery in whatever you do, to produce world-class work, but to do it sustainably without completely destroying yourself in the process. So let's just forget the 14-hour metric. It's a vanity metric. The real question is, what do you want to achieve with that focused energy? This is all about building a brain that can perform on command when you need it to, so you can achieve incredible things. The goal isn't endurance. The goal is mastery. So I'll just leave you with this one question. What will you master?